Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. This here is a nice money plant here, otherwise known as a jade plant, or the Latin name is Crassula ovata. Now this is actually the mother plant for all the other jade plants I have. I'm not sure how old this is. I've probably had it for 10 years, but it was already a similar size when I got it, so I don't really know how old it is. But I've pruned it a few times to keep it reduced so that it doesn't get too big. Also, it helps make it look more like a bonsai. And as you can see, it's got a fantastic big trunk. It's really quite fat on this one. As I say, it's quite a mature tree, so it's looking quite nice. So, I'd say what I've done is about 3 or 4 years ago, I last pruned this, and it was cut quite a lot. So I had loads of cuttings, and that's where all my leaf cuttings have come from, and all my other cuttings from my other money plants. And in fact, one of the daughter's plants of this is actually probably about the same size of it, so in 3 years it grew to the other plants have actually grown to this size. But this one's been kept in a shady location. Compost hasn't been changed very often, hasn't been fed at all, so it's grown a lot slower. Now it's been sitting at my parents' house, so I don't look after it normally, but as you can see, it's been facing this way in the window, so all the branches are facing that way, and it's got a lot of long branches as well. And it's not the branches aren't creating any more branches, they're just staying long and thin. They're not dividing and making a nice branch shape. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to be cutting off a lot of the long shoots and try and get a better shape to this plant again. As you can see, it's kind of all going to one side and it's kind of higgledy-piggledy. But you can see in the past where I've cut it, you can see in the past there was also quite a lot of long shoots, and I've cut it, and where it has been cut, it's sent up a lot of new shoots. So I'll just get going with cutting it and try and get a nice shape. So all I'm basically doing is taking away any of the longest shoots. So for example here, it's been quite a long shoot without any branching. I'm just going to cut it back to here. I can see there's lots of new shoots coming up here, and anyway, wherever I do cut it, it will encourage branching anyway. I'll just go around like that. Once I've taken off all the long shoots, I'll then go on to the next section of pruning. So that's all the long leggy shoots removed. You can see it's much more compact now. It's already starting to look a bit more like a tree. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is remove any bit that's really quite congested. So this area here, you can see there's lots of shoots here, and they're really a bit growing into each other. So what I'm going to do is just take 1 or 2 out just to thin it, so there's a bit more light can get in, and also it lets you see the stem structure much better on the plant as well. So there we are, that's taken out all the long leggy bits. It's also taken out some of the crowded sections, so it's looking quite good now. So the next stage I want to do is try and make it look a bit more like a bonsai type tree. So I'm going to adjust some of the lower down branches now. So now I've reduced the camera height down to about the height of the tree. You can see much better the shape of it and the branches. So what I want to do now is try and just make it a bit more like a tree would be. So that generally the lower branches at the very bottom, they'll be quite thick, but they don't normally stick out as far as the upper branches. So just looking around, I can see this one here. It looks quite nice, but it doesn't look quite in proportion for a tree. So I'm going to cut it off at this point here and allow that little bit to grow up. Looking around here as well, this kind of sticks off at a rather odd angle, so I'm going to cut it off here and then reduce some of the shoots on there so that they're not reaching for the sky too much. Just rotating around, I'm just making sure the general shape, I'm quite happy with it. And all in all, it looks quite good. None of the branches is touching or rubbing. We've got a few little ones in the middle, but I'm quite happy to keep them for now. And all in all, I think it's quite a good shape. So I'm just going to nip some of these off, just to keep the size a bit down, and just to help with the branching as well. As I say, it'll probably branch a lot, and I might need to nip some of the shoots out because I might have too many branches, but it's good to have too many than too little, because you can always remove them later on. So there's a few more. I might just remove this one here. Just making sure there's not any big outliers that look a bit odd, like this bit here looks a little strange, so I'm just going to nip that back to about there. This new shoot will grow forward and continue it. There's also a rather odd little one in the middle there, so I'll remove that. And I'll remove some of the other ones which are just strange little shoots coming off a branch in the middle, because in real life you don't have so many small branches coming off a central point of the tree. Some of them I'll leave because I might want to create extra branches in the future, so I'll leave them, but for most of them I'll take them off, and I can just break some of them off my hands quite easily. Don't always have to use the secateurs. So I'm quite happy with that. Shape's starting to look much better as well. I am going to remove this bottom bit as well because it's a strange kind of feature. It kind of detracts away from the nice shape of the trunk. So I'll also try and cut this away at the base. There we are. Unfortunately it's quite a wide cut. Generally what happens with the money plants is it will tell it's infected, die back, and it will just actually peel off at the next node. So you can see here there's definite rings in the trunk, and the next node down. So if I cut that one in half there, that will actually drop off at that point there. So that should drop off in a few weeks. So there we are. I think that's fine for now. May do some adjustments at a later date as it starts to grow in. But I'll show you quickly how many I've actually cut off. It's quite a lot of material that's come off of there. And I'll just leave you now with a before photo and an after photo so you can see the difference of what the pruning has done. It does look quite drastic, but once this has had time to grow back in, it will help with the overall appearance.